Hello dear students, I am here again, your teacher Jane, to discuss another MELC-based lesson. Our discussion would focus on the most essential learning competency, use the passive and active voice meaningfully in varied contexts. And we will be guided by these questions. First, what is the difference between active voice and passive voice? Second, what is the structure of a sentence in the passive voice? And third, when are we going to use the active voice and the passive voice? The relationship of the subject to the verb in a sentence is called voice. And there are two voices of verbs. These are the active voice and the passive voice. Let's have first the active voice. When the subject does or acts upon the verb, the sentence is said to be in the active voice. When are we going to use active voice? First, active voice is used for most non-scientific writing. Another, using active voice for the majority of your sentences makes your meaning clear for the readers. And sentences in active voice are also more concise than those in the passive voice. This is because fewer words are required to express action in active voice than in passive voice. Let us look at this example. The old father gives the money to the boy. We have here our subject, the old father, which is the doer of the action. And what is our action? We have here the verb gives. Another, Carlos Bulosan revealed the reality about social discrimination in the text. Our subject here, Carlos Bulosan, is the doer of our action, and the action here is the verb revealed. Another one, the rich man accused the poor family of stealing the spirit of his family's food by smelling. Who is the doer of our action? It is the rich man, and the action is the verb accused. Another example, the judge pounded the gavel. We have here the doer of the action, which is the judge, and the action is pounded. So as you have noticed in the four examples that I have presented, we can see the doer at the start of our sentence, followed by the verb. I hope you got it clear about the active voice. Now let's have the passive voice. When the subject receives the action of the verb, the sentence is said to be in the passive voice. Let us look at this example. The money is given by the old father to the boy. Now, our subject here is no longer the doer of the action, but it is already the receiver of the action. It's not the money that gives, but it is the money that is given. So the subject becomes now the receiver of the action which is given. Let us look at the structure of a sentence which is in the passive voice. First, we have the subject, which is the receiver of the action, and then we have the auxiliary verbs or the be verbs. Next, we have the main verb, which is in its past participle. And we also have the word by plus the agent. But we must take note that by and agent are sometimes optional in the passive voice. Now let us try to study the sentence a while back. The money is our subject, is our auxiliary verb, and given is our main verb, which is in its past participle. The money is given. So even if we are going to remove by and agent, our sentence can stand by itself because it already states a complete thought. But we can also add the word by plus the agent, which is the old father. So our sentence would be, the money is given by the old father. I hope you got that. Now when are we going to use the passive voice? First, we use passive voice if we want to emphasize the receiver of the action. Just like in this example, the gavel was pounded by the judge. As you can see here, we have gavel as our subject. Then we have an auxiliary verb and the past participle of our main verb, plus the word by and the agent or the doer of the action. So we can see the pattern of sentences that are in the passive voice. Another use of passive voice is when we don't know who did the action or the agent. Just like in this example, my wallet has been stolen. So looking at this example, we do not know who did the action. So we can use the passive voice. Another is when the actor is not important or interesting. Like in this example, our house is being painted by JMP Company. So in here, if you think that the actor is not important in your sentence, then you can just remove it. So your sentence would be, our house is being painted. Again, it follows the structure of subject, auxiliary verb, and the main verb in its past participle. Plus, we have the by and the agent, which are optional. We can also use passive voice when we are talking about a general truth, like this one, mistakes were made. And lastly, we use the passive voice when we are writing formal or scientific texts. Example is, potassium was added and mixed in. Now, for you to have a clearer understanding on the difference of the active and passive voice, let us look at these comparisons. Let us look at this sentence in the active voice. The judge pounded the gavel. And if we are going to transform that in the passive voice, we have the gavel was pounded by the judge. So as you can see here, the judge, which is our subject in the active voice, will become our agent in the passive voice. And our verb pounded will become was pounded in the passive voice, since we have to use a combination of an auxiliary verb plus the past participle of our main verb. And now in here, the receiver of the action, which is the gavel, became the subject in the passive voice. And of course, we are going to add the word by, which will introduce us to our agent. Can you now see the difference? Let us look at another example. In the active voice, our sentence would be, Carlos Bulosan revealed the reality about social discrimination in the text. And if we are going to transform that in the passive voice, we have, the reality about social discrimination was revealed by Carlos Bulosan in the text. Again, if we are going to look at this example, Carlos Bulosan, which is the subject and the doer of the action in the active voice, becomes the agent in our passive voice. Our verb revealed will become was revealed, and the receiver of the action, the reality about social discrimination, will become our subject in the passive voice. And of course, we are going to add by, which will introduce us to our agent. Did you get it? I hope that these examples gave you a clearer understanding about the difference between the active voice and the passive voice. Now let us try to transform the following sentences from active to passive voice. Now let us check your understanding and transform the following sentences from active to passive voice. First one, President Duterte visited the victims of the typhoon. Do you have an answer? That's great! Our sentence would be, the victims of the typhoon were visited by President Duterte. Next, volunteer students initiated a feeding program. What would our sentence be like? Very good! A feeding program was initiated by volunteer students. Next, the frontliners asked us to stay at home. You're doing great! Our sentence in passive voice would be, we were asked to stay at home by the frontliners. And lastly, the teacher prepared the self-learning modules. What would our sentence be like? Great job! It would be, the self-learning modules were prepared by the teacher. Congratulations for doing a great job! I hope that this video helped you understand about the active voice and the passive voice. Thanks for watching, and if you found this video helpful, please like and subscribe to my channel for more videos. Till next time!